Hello, my name is Marnita Harris, and I am the Vice President of Economic Equity and Inclusion here at the Detroit Regional Chamber. And I am happy to be with Matt Elliott, former Michigan Market President and Sustainability Executive of Bank of America. Also, Matt is a great leader that led us in the Mackinac Policy Conference when we had the year of our Power of and he's also a past chair of the Chamber Board of Directors. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I am great. Fresh off a Lions victory, Marnita. So I'm really good.
Yes. Yes, yes, we're going. I won't say it, but I'm very excited about where we're going here with the Lions in the city of Detroit. Very happy. So this
Agreed.
we'll spend some time today discussing why economic equity and inclusion is important for businesses. Okay, so I want to open with just give you a moment to tell a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, thank you. I just recently made the decision to retire from Bank of America after 22 years of combined service, 12 of which were as the president of Bank of America Michigan. And as part of that, I've had the privilege of working with the chamber and serving, as Marnita said, as the 2023 chair of the Mackinac Policy Conference and also as the chair of the board of directors. But in the course of doing that, really, I've had a chance to meet a lot of incredible leaders and learn more about what's important to the membership of the chamber. And one of the things that's very critical to all of our chamber members is finding the best people, attracting and retaining talent. When I talk to business owners, as I have for my whole 34-year career, almost always they would say the hardest thing about driving value for their organizations was finding the best people. And fundamentally, that's what economic inclusion is all about for our membership. It's attracting and retaining the best possible workforce that they possibly can. And in the course of doing so, contributing to the value of the Detroit region and the state of Michigan broadly.
And with all of the things that we house, and we have so many communities that are in our region, we have and so many industries. And so how do you believe that economic equity and inclusion can enhance or just affect the bottom line of a business?
Well, I think one of the things and we saw this firsthand at Bank of America was that and is the fact that a diverse workforce makes better decisions. A diverse workforce represents the community that it serves, and generally speaking, a diverse workforce performs better. Now, it takes work and it takes intentional effort to make that happen, however. And so it's a lot, it takes a lot more than just saying we welcome everybody. We actually have to do the work to bring, in some cases, everybody to the table so that everybody actually feels like they have a voice. But when that happens, what you'll find is that teams are more effective. You'll get different viewpoints you might not otherwise get, and you'll find pockets of talent that you might not have access before either. All those things add value to a company, and also all those things add value to the region.
Yes, and that was my next question, but you answered it right with that. Like, why is it so valuable for, and I say the Detroit region, but any space at all. So you just really any city or municipality, how the business is and how the businesses their makeup, their employees, and how they're contributing to. I was just at Bank of America event, was happy to see you there, and how all of the investment into the teams really pours out into the community. Which
Yeah.
again, if you're getting good, if you're happy at your workplace, and you're not always happy, we had some of those conversations with different leaders. They're like, no, you're not always happy, but if it's a atmosphere where you can grow and you can contribute, and bring your experiences to the table, it does make it a better place to work and a better place to reside. My
It
little
definitely
commentary.
No, it definitely does. And I can think of several chamber members who have really reached out into their communities and brought people to the table to work in their firms that frankly they probably would not have approached in years prior. I mean, these are returning citizens in some cases. These are people that, don't come to the table with the qualifications on paper necessarily that look, that look exactly out of, the typical norm. But on the other hand, once they make that effort, what they find is they find a very loyal workforce. They find the whole neighborhood around that business stabilizes. And they also find that people start rooting for that company. And so they see that company as being part of the fabric of the neighborhood, the fabric of the community, and that pays really big dividends. That connection matters. And I would say that the other thing about everybody being happy is exactly true. But what is really helpful is that when somebody brings their viewpoint to the table, usually what you'll find is that you get a better outcome than if someone stays quiet. But what that requires of leadership is that leadership creates an environment where those folks can feel comfortable bringing that feedback forward. And I think that is the trick, and that's also the obligation of really good leadership to make happen. But once they do that, they see the value of a stable team, lower turnover, that they find it easier to recruit, and as a result of all that, they find value.
In your professional history, how did you apply these principles to how you led and how you set policies, how you did things in the corporate world?
I think, Marnita, one of the things that if you really want to have a really inclusive environment at your firm, one of the things it requires of leadership is that leadership is vulnerable, that leadership shows up not having all the answers, and that it asks questions. And I've learned an awful lot during my personal journey around equity and inclusion just by asking questions and being open to the feedback, whether or not you like it or not. And as a result of that, what I have found is I've built relationships with people, and so you really relate to the person not as a label, not as management or labor, let's say, or someone who's black and someone who's white, but as Marnita and Matt. And when you get to that level, what you find is that number one, people are very similar, but then number two, people will shoot you straight, and that is really valuable as a leader to have somebody who's willing to be honest with you, and so you can be honest with them. And that makes the firm better. That makes things much more drive much more smoothly, and because you have a higher level of trust. And I think those are some of the things that I have tried to do as a leader, and I have found really add value to our firm. And I'm going to continue to do that in my new life. So, I'm really excited about that. But also, it's been very gratifying to have that experience myself as a leader.
And I want to confirm that is how you lead. That's how you came in as a chair. That's how chair of the Mackinac Policy Conference, as a chair of the chamber. Just a great value add to how we started our own economic and equity and inclusion effort here at the chamber. So just so grateful for your leadership on that. And I'm just going to put that on this tape and hey, because it's true. It's true. So what you said you tried to do, I can confirm that you did do that.
Well, I
And
appreciate that, Marnita. I really do. And this is one of the things that I think is important is that by being vulnerable as a leader, that comes back to you. And it comes back to you as a person. It also comes back to you as a leader who's trying to add value to a firm. And so it's a win-win. This is again an example of the power of and, Marnita.
yes, it is.
Is that you can have diversity, equity, and inclusion and excellence. And in fact, if you want to have excellence, I think personally, you have to have diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes, yes. So my closing question is, what can a business do to contribute more to to economic equity and inclusion, and what advice would you give them if they're trying to expand or just trying to get started in that area?
Well, I think the number one thing is to be really clear about what that means for your firm and your organization and how it fits into your strategy. I was fortunate enough to work at a place at Bank of America where human capital and the way that we treated people was core to our business strategy. And that's where equity and inclusion comes from. So if you start from that place, then it will follow that all these things make sense and you can tie them back to value. And I think that's really critical. So that's number one is being clear on your why. Number two is being clear on how you're going to do it and learning from people who have already maybe gone farther down the path so that the firm itself can figure out, okay, what makes sense for our context and what makes sense for our circumstance. And then beginning to take some steps and doing the work. The third thing is some courage from leadership. And leadership matters in all companies. We have
Mhm.
tremendous leadership in our membership at the chamber. And I'm confident that our leaders, as they see this and also learn more about equity and inclusion, will find the way to help it make sense and add value for their firms. But this is about value, and it's about the value of people. And fundamentally, that's always what drives value in a company is the people.
Yes, thank you so much for that because that's how when I took this role here at the chamber, I thought the first thing I said to the group that was doing the internal work as we were looking at our procurement, as we were looking at how we communicate, as we were looking at how do we build our speakers and how we looking at our panels and doing all the work that you as the chair know that we were
Mhm.
doing. The first thing I said to the internal group, which was the task force that was doing all this, is that I'm a servant leader looking to you to help, guide how we do this. Now, of course, there are things that, I might have to align with policy and things, but I am very dependent upon and value your opinion. And I think that's what helped us be so successful the first year. And I can honestly say I watched how a lot of our leaders, including you, and the commitment that the board had to it and the commitment that our CEO, Sandy Barrera, had to it, which made it very easy for me to do what I was tasked to do. So I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us on this series. It's very important to have um thought leadership like yours to share with our businesses and with our members. So I just thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure. And thank you for doing the work, Marnita. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.